Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is Big E here on Big E TV. Our top story, Elon Musk's company SpaceX is in the news for not launching a rocket into space. That's been done before, been there, done that. No, it's for launching a red convertible Tesla, complete with its own astronaut, into space, into heading the trajectory of Mars, and I believe it's expected to circle the Mars atmosphere for the next 554 billion years. But I'm just a little bit surprised that it wasn't a 59 Chevy Corvette white. Stingray, I believe it was called back in those days. Anyone that knows the famous movie Heavy Metal and that song, Radar, Rider, I believe, by Riggs, if I go back in the day. Yeah, that was a great song. And that was a moment from that cult classic Heavy Metal, what they call a comic book, and it would have all these really cool images and graphics, and it set them into a movie out of it. Anyway, Elon Musk, I was impressed. That was very good. His quote was, yeah, it's kind of silly and fun, but silly and fun are very important. So, hey, good on you, Elon Musk. That's a great quote. Pyeong Chang 2018 Winter Olympic Games are about to begin tomorrow. I know I shared some thoughts on that a little bit yesterday. The world is watching. It's all the usual storylines. The security is all beefed up, the yin-yang up there. They're going to be ready for the games, and we've seen it all. We've seen this storyline before. Big shout out to Dave Doherty and the unbelievable people at the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Games, Whistler Olympic Games. Those were amazing folks. They did a smash job. But the biggest thing, aside from being on time and on budget and all the rest of it, you know, efficiencies, the legacy. But there's other times in the Olympics where it hasn't been so successful. Vancouver 2010, Whistler 2010, we had a fantastic run of things. We had some unbelievable legacy facilities like the Richmond Olympic Oval, the Hillcrest Aquatic Center, and the Gymnastics Center of Phoenix there. We have the Cypress Mountain improvements and the road up to Whistler, Blackcomb, not to mention the Cauldron downtown. They have Masters Olympic Games, like with all of us in the basketball community. On the other side, I mean, to think of the bird's nest, the $1 billion bird's nest in Beijing is being used so that people could not walk, not run, not cycle, not rollerblade, not push a baby carriage around the track, but no, use segways to use a motorized vehicle, not to exercise. If that's not the saddest reflection of almost $1 billion being spent, then the only thing that's topped by is the horrible things going on in Rio de Janeiro and in Brazil, and all the corruption and the horrible spending on things like not only the Olympic Games, but also the Soccer World Cup there. You know, the Rio was only 2016, and that country has serious problems. They should not be spending. The egos of some of these corrupt individuals to host these games, to show all this bravado and stuff. It's everything that I'm against. I love the passion that the Olympic spirit brings in an individual and people. Love the feeling about the athletes and the athletic performance and the quest for gold and glory and the beauty that comes along with that. The country is very important, but I don't know that's country first. In order to be successful, there's nothing wrong with saying I want it for me first and everybody else around me, including my country and my family and my friends, all for the athletes. And the greatness. And one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight a little bit was greatness and glory. And are those such terrible aspirations to have in life? It seems like we almost don't want anyone to do too good, or they want anyone boasting about being too good because you're going to be considered conceited. Where do you draw the line between conceited and confidence? You know, well, I suppose that confidence is about not being about being all showy about it, but doing it for yourself. And conceitedness is when you feel like you've got to maybe be so insecure that you've got to, like, you know, get affirmation from other people about how great you are. There might be a better way of measuring our dollars in society. a better way of looking at the Olympic Games. You know, maybe it's a more of a rotational basis. It's got to the point where this is our money, folks. We should be telling our politicians, do we want you to spend our money on this or on that? And I think it's people first, and we spend our money on the infrastructure. You bring up the least fortunate people in our society to a level where they're effective, competent, they have purpose in their life, they have some role in society. Honestly, that's, if you talk to most people, that's all they're looking for. Unless you've got a group like Vancouver 2010 that did a fantastic job in Vancouver. In that case, forget everything I said. The beauty of sport was also tarnished in me back in 2012. Christine Sinclair and the gold medal performance of the Canadians women's soccer team. Now you talk about sports that matter, folks, okay? There's only a few sports really that matter in the sense of that are really global, you know, like team sports, like soccer is number one, I believe basketball is number two, I believe volleyball is number three. You know, these kind of global sports have such an incredibly massive, huge amount of people playing them. To win the gold medal there is among the highest of human regards. In fact, if you look at Canada, we don't have a good history in team sports and the big sports I just mentioned. Yeah, hockey, and that's a big one, but that's also Northern Hemisphere. Very sad at the 79th minute in that game, with Canada leading the U.S. I think it was 4-3 or 3-2. The U.S. There was Peterson, the referee. She's from Norway. I'm not saying that she's just doing what she was told. She's got a guy in her ear saying, "Call a penalty." Well, they called a penalty on Canada. It was this obscure rule that the goaltender can't keep the ball more than 6 seconds. It was completely made up and fabricated. Ball went to the U.S. right in front for a penalty, for not a penalty kick, but a free kick. The American girl goes and she just knocks it off the girl's arm. Like, she hit it so hard she couldn't move her arm, but it's from there it's an automatic penalty kick. It's almost like it was like planned or something. And to think that Canada got caught up in an arms race with China and the USA over who's going to get the most gold medals for the Olympics. And there was so much influence in sport it had to get to that point.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport.
Where Canada was robbed of the gold medal.
The thrill of victory.
Shame on you for that. And you know what? From now on, I will never have my spirit burned alive again. Thanks a lot, you guys. Way to go.
And the agony of defeat.
There's a trade battle brewing between BC and Alberta. Rachael, the Alberta Premier, John Horgan, BC Premier, referee. They're trying to break it up. Justin Trudeau. Are we a federalist type of country, or are we a country driven by the province's autonomy? You know, the Trans Mountain Pipeline has been approved. I believe that the NDP feels a moral and maybe contractual, I don't know, obligation to the Green Party of BC to hold up on certain things and to show concessions on others. And I think that the way that if the government here can stick handle this one and show that we can be supportive of industry and business and allow the Site C Dam to continue and finish that project that's already been 80% of the way there from past government. I think hydroelectric power, at least, is something I can wrap my mind around for future generations, as opposed to oil and gas, which is a dying breed. It's like the dinosaur, and it's like coal, and we should not be supporting that. So I am definitely not in favor, even though I do like Rachael Notley and I do like Alberta and I respect their interests. And irony here is that Alberta has put not a tariff or a tax on BC wines, but has actually forbid them from coming into the province. And in turn, Premier John Horgan has done anything. He just basically said, I'm not going to get into this tit for tat retaliation war. But ironically, then now environmentalists from across the country are buying BC wine in droves to show support for environmentalism and the cause. So, Alberta, good on you. All you environmentalists. And also on the federal government, where Trudeau is going to fit into this equation. He's ultimately said that, came up pretty strong, saying that the federal government is going to ultimately be the decision maker here. So I'm curious to see, which area they choose, because the federal Liberals have always been kind of wrapping their mind around being progressive on issues, and it doesn't take a friggin' genius to figure out what progressive means in this respect. Is that There is no future in pipeline. All you're doing is helping us destroy our planet and live in the past instead of thinking about the present and the future, and not future being getting next elected the next cycle, but thinking about the future of our generations. That's what it's going to take for politicians for us to dig ourselves out of the hole that we've dug ourselves into in the first place. Speaking of Prime Minister Trudeau, I got to give him some credit. What? Okay, well, I have to give him a little credit for holding these town hall meetings across Canada. When I think about the climate in the U.S. and other nations and just how hostile it's become against our politicians, and to have Justin Trudeau, I can tell by the nature of some of the questions, it's not a hand-picked, cherry-picked crowd. He's letting in some, neutral people at best in there. So the other day, the gal made a comment that she wanted to fight for mankind and do something worthy, and she was putting herself in this pedestal. Justin Trudeau was like, "Oh, I should correct you. We don't say mankind anymore. We say people kind." It kind of begs the question now. So this is a shout out to you, Ben Simmons. I saw a thing you put up there on Facebook. Instead of Manitoba, do we have to call it People-toba now?
Excuse me. Look, hold on. I've just been handed this important breaking news.
Toronto Raptors are going to be winning the Eastern Conference. You heard it here first, folks, on Big E TV. They're going to go against the Golden State Warriors. No big surprise there. I have to give a shout out to the University of British Columbia Thunderbird basketball team.
Hey, Big E here from Big E TV. I got my man Gareth over here in the house. Woo!
Kevin Hansen, Spencer McKay, all of you guys are doing a great job up there. They got the playoffs coming up next week.
We're having a great time. We got the UVic Lady Bikes. Hey, I've got the head coach of UBC Thunderbirds, Deb Huband. 3 championships in 5 years. Tell me, what is the secret to winning a championship, Deb?
A lot of hard work, a lot of teamwork, a little bit of luck.
I'm not sure if they're called Vikettes or Vikings or Vikes or what they are, but here they come. Now, you were a player back in the day. You played on the national team, I believe. So I think a big part of this is that you can lead by example because you've been there.
Well, their seniors had their final home game regular season last Friday night.
It's a positive when you walk the path of your athletes. I think you understand what it takes to be a student athlete and what it takes to strive for success.
Okay, folks, I got David Evie in the house. What's up, David? Nice to meet you, sir. Who knows? We might have
It's not an easy go being a full-time student and a varsity athlete trying to win national championships, but the players work hard every day to be the best they can be.
Seniors night up here on the hill, and we're having so much excitement and energy.
Attorney General David Eby was there. Really fantastic to see the community out there in droves. It was a full house. It was packed. President Onu was there.
Who do we got here? Angela, what's up, buddy? Nice to meet you.
Unbelievable bond we have, the University of Thunderbird alumni.
Brett Watson, what's up, big guy? Hey, you're on Facebook Live. Buddy.
No. All I can say is this guy's one of the best basketball players I've ever played with.
Oh,
and you know what? He did all the dirty work. I love a guy like that.
Luka Bazooka Zaharovic is a hard name, last name to say. Luka Bazooka, also shout out, he came from Kitsilano Secondary School where my son plays room. I know Connor Morgan, that's an easy one. Connor Morgan is up for potentially Player of the Year this year in youth sport.
From Victoria, BC, number 9, Connor Morgan.
I think he was a first All-Canadian last year, and we're pulling for him to be the number 1 player in Canada this year. Philip Delacour is from Germany, and he has an amazing story to tell. He's an incredible guy. Unbelievable leadership of those seniors and all the guys at UBC going for you.
And remember to watch Big E TV weeknights at 6 o'clock Pacific time.
Big E, talk to you soon.
7 dimensions of wellness, okay? As you can see, let's all just do a little moment of meditation here.